Hello YouTube, this is Larry the Lone Wolf howling through the vast wilderness of the internet once again, and today I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on Fatal Fury City of the Wolves so far with the open beta that's been going live since yesterday as of the recording of this video. I just have to say right now that this is a game that's 26 years in the making. This is literally the first Fatal Fury game in 26 years since Garou Mark of the Wolves, and if you haven't already, I've previously made a video where I delve deeper into the lore of Fatal Fury called The Insane Lore of Fatal Fury, so make sure you guys check that video out if you haven't already, as you can learn the entire lore of Fatal Fury in just 1 hour and 10 minutes. Anyway, I gotta say, I really do love the beta. I gotta say right now that from my own experience that the beta is very good. There's obviously some problems, but we'll definitely go into it as we go along. But I definitely want to set a few things straight before I delve into the negatives. So for one thing, as we already know, this game takes place in this town of Southtown. Like, it's definitely in Southtown. It's 2 years after the events of Mark of the Wolves. So Mark of the Wolves took place in 2006. So City of the Wolves is in 2008 and everything. So we know Geese is gone and everything. Kai and Heinlein is also back and everything. So it's definitely going to pick up from where Mark of the Wolves left off, which is where I'm very interested in seeing it. The one thing that I can say that like this game did very well is the rev system. I think the rev system is mostly good for the most part, but it definitely I do hope that they will refine some of the things about it, but for the most part, I don't really have much to complain about the rev system. I think the rev system does add a lot of strategic depth to the fights in this game. They clearly like took a lot of aspects from like the older Fatal Fury games while combining it with the fundamentals of Mark of the Wolves. So it's like with this game, you essentially get the best of both worlds while also getting a game that's kind of akin to Street Fighter 6 in a way. It's like there's definitely, you can literally see like the inspiration from Street Fighter 6 that this game adapts, and you know, coincidentally enough, Ken and Chun-Li are going to be guest characters in the game as part of the Season 1 pass for this game, which is awesome. But yeah, you can definitely see that SNK definitely took liberties from Street Fighter 6 when it was necessary, but it still definitely stands out on its own. It definitely stands out on its own. Like, you have the Rev Arts, which is basically like their enhanced, which is the enhanced version of a character's special moves. So essentially, Rev Arts are basically like your EX moves and everything. And you know that meter that has like the percentage gauge and everything. So this gauge fills up when either you're blocking an attack or when you're using EX moves, and when it's overheated, you cannot use any more EX moves, and you can't use your Rev Blow, which that leads into this point, the Rev Blow, which is essentially basically like how, you know how the TOP system was in Mark of the Wolves? That's basically what Rev Blow is. It's basically like SPG is basically the TOP system, the top system for Mark of the Wolves. It works exactly the same way, but it also has a brand new feature known as Rev Excel, which makes it so where you can literally chain moves back to back. Like, you can literally chain EX moves from one another to extend the combo, which I think is absolutely cool. And then you also have Rev Guard, which is basically a special block. So it's like how in Guilty Gear Strive you have like the EX block, you know, you have the shield and everything. Rev Guard works exactly like that, and it negates chip damage and stuff like that. It definitely retains the Just Defense system from Mark of the Wolves, which I think is pretty awesome. And it also has a hyper defense system where you can basically go straight into another move right after you do the Just Defense, which I think is it's a very expert level technique. It doesn't. It's like I've struggled to pull it off many times, so it's definitely not something you're going to immediately master at first glance. But you know, with practice, you'll definitely get better at it for sure. But this is a game that clearly, and this is the one thing that I love about City of the Wolves, which is that going into it, like, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I'll be honest with you. I went in there thinking that, okay, maybe this will be, you know, somewhat familiar, but this game, let me tell you something, this is a whole new fighting game. This is something you have to learn from the ground up if you want to get used to it. You know, I struggled with it at first, but the more and more I kept playing it, the more I better understood the mechanics, and the more I just really got better, and I started, you know, winning matches and everything. So right now, I have a pretty impressive, win-lose ratio, which I think is absolutely cool, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I could actually do it. I was expecting to go on there and probably lose more matches more than I would win. But I was surprised by my performance, and I gotta say, man, I tried. I did everything that I could, and I did. And as of the recording of this video, my My win-loss ratio is 46-39, so it's 54.1%. So I've won more matches than I lost, which is actually saying a lot because I'm not exactly the best at fighting games, but I do know my way around, and I'm currently ranked CV, which is absolutely awesome. I had just reached CV today, which is pretty cool. But this game also has dual control schemes as well, which it's kind of like how in Street Fighter 6 there's like three control schemes, but in this game there's only two. You have the arcade style, which is the traditional control setup reminiscent of the older games or just traditional fighting games in general, but then you also have the smart style, which is a more simplified and more streamlined control scheme that lets players perform flashy combos and special moves with fewer and more intuitive inputs, which is definitely good for beginners if you're unfamiliar with Fatal Fury and how it plays. So it's literally, so they made it so where like they basically made it so where like newcomers can just jump right in and just play it, you know what I'm saying? And I can tell that this game is definitely going to be the first Fatal Fury game for a lot of people. This game might even push out SNK's name even more, just given the fact that Ken and Chun-Li are going to be guest characters in it, you know what I'm saying? And as we already know, when the game does drop, it's definitely going to have an arcade and a versus. It's going to have the RPG mode known as Episodes of Southtown, where you get to earn additional rewards. You get to even change the colors of your characters and earn special moves and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So of course it has a mix of returning characters and new fighters. You got Terry Bogard, you got Rock Howard, you got Mai Shiranui. Mai is actually my main. She, to me, is actually the best character in the game. I absolutely love Mai Shiranui. I think she's an insanely fun character. And then you also have the new fighters like Preecha and Vox Reaper. And Preecha, for those who don't know, was a character who was mentored by Joe Higashi, who's also set to be in City of the Wolves. And then you have Vox Reaper, who was, believe it or not, he's actually a disciple of Grant from Mark of the Wolves. As we already know, Grant died in Mark of the Wolves, but Vox Reaper literally has Grant's entire moveset. He has Ankaku or Dark Karate. So that's basically, so if you're familiar with Grant, that's basically who Vox Reaper is. And as far as the online play, this is where I'm gonna go into the negatives of it. The negatives that I have with this game from my experience is undoubtedly the netcode. It's like the netcode is very for the most part. It's like when you go into a match, it's cool. It definitely does use robot netcode and everything. The problem is that the beta has a tendency to sometimes crash. It'll take you out of a match or whatever, or it'll take you all the way back to the menu. Now keep in mind, it is a beta, so you got to cut it some slack because it's not, you know, entirely finished yet. But it is quite annoying how, you know, you would be running a set and everything. You probably want to, you know, rematch and everything, and then it connects you because it says, oh, failed to connect to the game server or something like that. And it's just like, come on now. It just really disrupts, you know, the flow of the game and everything. Otherwise, I don't really have any other complaints about the game. And maybe the only thing that they could do with the revs, this was something that a good friend of my cousin's actually brought up because I was playing some matches with him on here, is that people could like literally spam like the EX move with the overheat. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of it. The whole point of it is that like if you use too much EX, then you overheat and then you have the cooldown period. But he did offer a pretty good suggestion for when you're overheated, which is that you should be more negative. I don't know exactly how that would play out, but it is a suggestion that he had. I'm just literally telling you what he said. He was saying that when you're overheated, when you're in overheat and everything, you should be more negative on your moves and everything instead of being as quick and everything, which on paper sounds like it's a good idea, but that would probably just like be an inconvenience to the player or everything. But at the same time, I would definitely argue that if we were to have something like that, it would at least make it so where the player knows in the back of their mind, hey, don't spam too much EX or else that could happen. You know what I'm saying? But there's already like a good, the way the overheat works is actually already pretty decent. Like in a way, it's like you can't use your EX, you can't use your SPG or your rev blow, you can't use any of your rev moves. And on top of that, you run the risk of also having your guard broken if you block enough times. So it's like, yeah, there's already some negatives of being in overheat and everything like that. But keep in mind that this game is in beta form. It's not out yet. Not for another 2 months anyway. So there's definitely going to be a plenty of time to figure it all out. But for the most part, I will say that the beta is mostly good, but it definitely has its downs. The spotty netcode honestly is the single biggest problem with the game right now. But for the most part, what you get is an incredibly robust fighting game that is undoubtedly going to be, in my opinion, probably one of the best in recent memory. I'll take it a step further and say that I think, and this is not throwing shade at King of Fighters 15, because I love King of Fighters 15. I absolutely love that game to death, but I will say that Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is undoubtedly the better fighting game because it has deeper mechanics, and that's not to say that King of Fighters 15 doesn't have deep mechanics, but I think with City of the Wolves, there's clearly more of a learning curve, and I've always respected City of the Wolves, or rather, more specifically, just the Fatal Fury series in general, for having very strategic and deep combat and everything, especially Mark of the Wolves, which was, I mean, it was different from the older games, but with City of the Wolves, it definitely combines the essence of the classic Fatal Fury along with Garou. But this is also where I have to assert that one of the things that I absolutely love about Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is that it feels more like Fatal Fury more than Mark of the Wolves did. One of the biggest issues I have, despite the fact that Mark of the Wolves is one of my top 5 favorite fighting games of all time, my biggest flaw with that game that I can, if there's anything that I can complain about, is that it hardly feels like Fatal Fury. It hardly does. It feels more like a completely different 2D fighting game made by SNK that isn't Fatal Fury. But that was one of the reasons why people were confused back then when the game first came out. They weren't sure if it was a direct continuation of Real Bout because it was so different and it did not have the Fatal Fury name. But the only thing about it that retains some of the Fatal Fury essence is the fact that in the intro it references Geese Howard's death during the events of Real Bout and how he fell from the Geese Tower, and the fact that Terry Bogard is in it and Rock Howard is in it. And as we all know, Rock is the son of Geese Howard, as we already know. But I think that I think with Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves undoubtedly feels more like Fatal Fury within the color choices, the cast of the characters, the fact that not only the cast of Garou is going to be coming back, for the most part at least, but you also have all these legacy characters from the older Fatal Fury games like Mai Shiranui, for example, and even Billy Khan. You have all these classic Fatal Fury characters who's coming back and everything. And then in addition, Mr. Big from Art of Fighting is going to be a guest character in Fatal Fury for the first time ever. You got to keep in mind that even though Art of Fighting and Fatal Fury are in the same universe, they're both completely different fighting games. So Mr. Big has never been in Fatal Fury, or at least we never got to experience how he would play in Fatal Fury's engine. But now, because he's going to be coming out for City of the Wolves next year, we can finally have the opportunity to experience how Mr. Big is going to play under City of the Wolves fighting engine. And I will preface this and say that Mr. Big, despite not being as iconic as, you know, Geese Howard, and probably not as good as a well-written villain as maybe Kine Highline, I think Mr. Big is one of the most underrated villains in fighting games, honestly, because most people forget that he was actually a pretty good main villain in Art of Fighting. And as we all know, he was the original crime lord of Southtown before Geese Howard, for the most part. But that's really all I have to say about Fatal Fury City of the Wolves Open Beta. For the most part, like I said, the beta has been nothing but a positive experience. I can't even tell you. I put in over 15 hours as of this recording so far. Like I played it for 9 hours yesterday, and as of today, I played it for at least up to 6 hours. I'm probably gonna play a couple more, so that number is undoubtedly gonna go up, and the beta is gonna be live for a couple more days. So I'm definitely gonna try to put in as much time with this beta as much as I can. With all that being said, I will definitely cover more of this game when it comes out. Like, we'll definitely do some online matches, we'll definitely do episodes of Southtown, maybe even mess around with some of the other characters too, because I would absolutely love to you know, cover more of this game, and I would definitely even make a video essay on it too if I can. Like, once I get enough material for this game and I get down with the story and everything, I would love to make a video essay on Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. And if you guys want to see that, because I've done video essays before on stuff like Devil May Cry, Mega Man, and even more recently doing the insane lore Fatal Fury, which again, definitely want to check that out. So if you definitely want to see a video essay on Fatal Fury City of the Wolves when it comes out, please let me know in the comments, please. And that's pretty much everything I have to say about the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves open beta. Be sure to tell me what you guys think of the beta in the comments below. I'm very interested in hearing about it. Until then, I'll see you next time. See ya.